Field gun. Distinct from a howitzer, a field gun is a type of cannon characterized by a long barrel and a high muzzle velocity. It is optimized for lower angle fire and higher muzzle velocity than a howitzer, and it can be used in direct fire when needed. But field guns were also widely used for indirect fire. Compared with howitzers, field guns used a flatter trajectory that suited long-range, lower-angle fire, often for area targets and counter-battery missions, which are frequently engaged by indirect fire rather than by sight. Today, most armies rely on howitzers/gun-howitzers and rocket artillery for long-range fires, while direct fire roles are typically handled by tanks and guided missiles. Howitzer. This is the quintessential artillery piece. A howitzer is a cannon artillery piece that can fire at both low angles and high angles, often defined as being able to elevate beyond 45 degrees, enabling indirect fire over obstacles. This allows it to hit targets that are hidden behind hills or other obstacles. Modern towed howitzers like the American M777 are relatively lightweight, allowing them to be transported by helicopter and rapidly deployed. Their mission is to provide long-range, indirect fire support for ground troops from miles behind the front line. Gun-Howitzer. This is a hybrid artillery piece that combines the characteristics of both a field gun and a howitzer. A gun-howitzer has a barrel that is long enough to be used for high velocity, direct fire like a cannon, but it can also be elevated to a high angle to fire in an arcing, indirect trajectory like a howitzer. This versatility allows a single weapon to fulfill multiple roles on the battlefield. Many modern cannon artillery systems blur the old gun versus howitzer split, but the M777 is generally classified and referred to as a towed howitzer. Mortar. A mortar is a smaller, simpler, and more mobile type of artillery that is typically used by infantry units. It is a short-range weapon that fires its projectile at a very high angle, allowing the shell to plunge almost vertically down onto a target. This makes it the perfect weapon for attacking an enemy hiding in a trench, behind a wall, or on the reverse slope of a hill. They range in size from small 60mm mortars carried by a single soldier to large 120mm mortars mounted on vehicles. MLRS. If a howitzer is a cannon, an MLRS is a mobile rocket battery. This vehicle carries a pod of rockets that can be fired in a rapid, devastating salvo, saturating a large area with explosive munitions. It is used to destroy soft targets like supply depots, enemy troop concentrations, and air defense sites. Modern systems like the American HIMARS are incredibly precise, capable of firing GPS-guided rockets that can hit specific targets from over 50 miles away. Tank gun. While mounted on a tank, the main gun of a main battle tank is a highly specialized type of artillery. Unlike a howitzer that fires in a high arc, a tank gun is a direct fire weapon. It fires a projectile at an extremely high velocity on a flat, straight trajectory. Its primary purpose is to kill other tanks. To do this, it fires a specialized type of ammunition, an armor-piercing, fin-stabilized, discarding sabot, or APFSDS round, which is essentially a super-dense metal dart that uses pure kinetic energy to punch through thick armor. Anti-tank gun. This was a dedicated artillery piece designed to do the job of a tank gun, but from a defensive, often concealed position. An anti-tank gun was a high-velocity cannon with a long barrel, optimized for direct fire against enemy armor. They were crucial weapons in World War II, but have since become largely obsolete. They were vulnerable to counterfire and have been replaced by the modern tank itself and by much more portable and flexible anti-tank guided missiles. The German 88mm gun is the most famous example of this type. Recoilless rifle. This is a unique type of lightweight artillery that allows a single soldier or a small crew to fire a powerful projectile that would normally require a much larger cannon. It works by venting a portion of the propellant gases out of the rear of the weapon, creating a counterthrust that cancels out the powerful recoil. This eliminates the need for a heavy and complex recoil mechanism. The recoilless rifle was a primary anti-tank weapon in the mid-20th century before the advent of modern guided missiles. Infantry Support Gun. This is a direct-fire gun designed to move with the infantry and provide immediate fire support during an attack. An infantry gun is used to destroy enemy machine gun nests, bunkers, and other fortified positions that are holding up the advance. Historically, these were small, lightweight cannons on carriages that could be manhandled by the troops. In World War II, this role was famously filled by dedicated assault guns, large cannons mounted on turretless tank chassis. Anti-aircraft artillery. This is artillery designed for one purpose: to shoot down aircraft. This category has two main types. The first is the classic anti-aircraft gun, or self-propelled anti-aircraft gun, like the German Gepard. These are rapid-firing autocannons, guided by radar, designed to destroy low-flying jets and helicopters. The second, and more modern type, is the surface-to-air missile system, like the American Patriot, which fires guided missiles to intercept aircraft and even ballistic missiles at high altitudes. Naval Gun. This is artillery located on a warship. Historically, these were the primary weapons of naval warfare, used in massive broadsides to sink other ships. In the modern era, the ship-to-ship role has been taken over by missiles. The modern naval gun's primary purpose is naval gunfire support, or shore bombardment. A destroyer or cruiser will use its 5-inch gun to provide fire support from offshore, typically out to around 13 to 20 nautical miles, about 24 to 37 kilometers, depending on the mount and ammunition. Self-Propelled Howitzer. This is a howitzer mounted on a self-propelled vehicle, tracked or wheeled, so it can move and fire without a towing truck. The primary advantage of a self-propelled howitzer, or SPG, is mobility and survivability. It can keep pace with an advancing tank column, stop to fire a mission, and then immediately move to a new location before the enemy can pinpoint its position and return fire. This shoot and scoot capability is essential on the modern battlefield. The American M109 Paladin is a classic example. Mountain Gun. This is a specialized piece of light artillery designed for use in rugged, mountainous terrain where heavy guns cannot go. A pack gun is engineered to be broken down into many smaller, lighter pieces, each of which can then be carried by a pack animal like a mule or by soldiers. Once the unit reaches its destination, the gun can be quickly reassembled and put into action, providing crucial fire support in otherwise inaccessible locations. Coastal artillery. Coastal artillery consists of massive, powerful cannons permanently installed in fortified positions along a coastline. Their sole mission is to defend against an enemy naval attack. These fixed batteries, often hidden in concrete bunkers, are designed to fire large, armor-piercing shells to destroy enemy warships from miles away. While they were a primary form of naval defense for centuries, they have been made largely obsolete by the advent of anti-ship missiles and air power. Railway Gun. This was a type of super-heavy artillery so massive that it could only be transported by mounting it on a specially designed railway car. The railway gun was the ultimate expression of siege artillery in the 20th century, capable of hurling enormous shells over incredible distances to destroy the strongest fortifications. The most famous and extreme example was the German Schwerer Gustav from World War II, a colossal cannon that weighed about 1,350 tons. A few hundred were needed to assemble and operate it, while thousands of support troops were involved in laying track, preparing the site, and protecting it. Siege artillery. This is the ancestor of all modern artillery. Siege artillery refers to the massive, heavy weapons designed to break down the walls of a fortified castle or city. This category includes ancient and medieval siege engines, like the catapult, which threw large stones, and the trebuchet, which used a counterweight to hurl massive projectiles. Later, with the advent of gunpowder, Massive cannons known as bombards were developed for the same purpose, a famous example being the huge cannons used by the Ottoman Empire to conquer Constantinople. Thanks for watching. Which artillery type do you think had the biggest impact on modern warfare? Let me know what you think in the comments. Please also remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.